of your own holiness, because the Holy Spirit, the Spirit representing your own holiness, is really where you experience healing, where you experience the change, where you also start laughing at the dream, and where you entering into a certainty that shows you that what you see here, what you gave meaning here, is actually not really worth mentioning. And as we had it in the last episode, really having a good look at the aspect of idolization and how to liberate ourselves from that limited thought form of idolization, which of course, that is not a question, is part of the ego thought system and never meets the Holy Spirit's thought system. So all that is based in separation, all that is based on the human separate consciousness, is really not communicating at all with the universe, doesn't know what and who it is, and is indeed lost in its dream images. And that's why we had emphasized last time in chapter 29 of the text of the Course in Miracles what an idol is. And I guess if you have ever looked at chapter 29 of Jesus' Course in Miracles, or if you just really be that much trained in your mind training, you know that you're looking at nothing. You're looking at ideas that are nowhere, and you're looking at values that do not really deserve to be protected or defended. And it is also amazing how things can be twisted and misunderstood. I received some commentary in a group, in a Course in Miracles, in the largest Course in Miracles group that exists. And it was a complete misunderstanding of what was actually expressed and taught, because the whole teaching was about, and will be continued today, to demonstrate that what is the source of an idol has no connection with God, has nothing to do with the truth of who we are or from where we come from, what our source is. Our source is God's mind. That has nothing to do with imageries and image making, right? That is really what the human consciousness has done in order to define itself in separation. And this is exactly now what we are willing to be undone. We are willing to accept here an alignment, a correction. And we allow that through the higher self, the holiness of ourself. And you can call it as you like. You can call it the universal mind, you can call it divine consciousness, or you can call it Christ consciousness or the Holy Spirit. It really doesn't matter. I think there's quite a nice understanding in the 12-step program, which emphasize it just needs to be greater than yourself, and that's why it is called in these groups higher power. So we are depending, we are connecting, and we are utilizing a source, our own source, that is not planted or based or still interconnected within the illusionary dream sequences. It is a mindset or the mind outside of time-space, outside of this frame. And this is why we are also in these review lessons in which we find ourselves at the end of this first part of the mind training of A Course in Miracles, practicing those 3 sentences. I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. And if you have started on the 1st of January and have done every day a lesson, you are today in the 207th day and will review lesson 187. I bless the world because I bless myself. And those few sentences, it's actually just 2 sentences, I would like to share with you. God's blessing shines upon me from within my heart. God's blessing, right? We are in that connection, in that dependence of a new, higher thought system, source, blessed, and that blessing shines upon us from within our own heart. It doesn't come from outside anywhere. That would be again, and that is what we were teaching last time, an idol. So he abides within ourselves, deep within our own heart. Second sentence, I need but turn to him, and every sorrow melts away as I accept his boundless love for me. Isn't that a wonderful invitation? An invitation to align our mind and to focus on where it is that we find it, to turn to Him. And that means to turn within our heart, within ourselves. And every sorrow, every grievance, every misinterpretation, every necessity to falsely understand it in order to be right, right? And to demonstrate. The whole commentary was about that anything that is of the ego doesn't have it doesn't have anything to do with God and with reality, and that is exactly my teaching, So, but there still needs to melt away the idea of I would hear something different, I would see something different in you, in anybody, from you, and therefore we let that sorrow of separation melt away in His love, in God's love. I accept His boundless love for me. And once we are in that experience, of course, the experience is that we see everywhere joy. And it is then finally only joy in which we welcome forgiving dreams into that experience that represents our awakening, right? But first, the actions within transformation of mind has to be to consciously accept a mindset, or let's say a training tool as this Course in Miracles is, and let that replace all our idle thoughts, our meaningless mindsets in order to define ourselves to be right here in time and space. These are all just tools, these are all toys. He calls it also, I'm going to go to the very end of chapter 29 with you in a moment. And there is the invitation to put down all children's toys, in that action of forgiveness, forgiving the past, forgiving ourselves, welcoming only forgiving dreams, in which all is finally only joy, because forgiving dreams do not let us on the timeline. Is basically the last illusion. There is no accident that in this sequence of the lessons 181 to 200, most of those lessons give very profound and also uncompromising directive towards forgiveness. It is a complete, almost a review in itself. There is no way to get out of here, of time-space, without an action of complete forgiveness. This is the invitation. So if you have nothing else to do, just stick with me here. We continue here live on Spreaker.com in the Voice from Heaven, and otherwise you can find it uploaded later on. And those who are right now also joining live on YouTube, I will close that channel and continue only on Spreaker. I love you with all my heart. And yes, let's just stick a moment here and see where we're gonna be directed in his teaching in this chapter 29 that we already touched the last time about the idols, and come now to these actions or remembrance of forgiveness for ourselves. So yeah, welcome. I'll be right back.